Are you even listening to me? I asked, feeling frustration bubbling up inside. We were discussing our daughter's career path for her senior year of high school, but my husband Dave was distracted by his phone. I'm talking about something important here, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Dave glanced up briefly. If she wants to go to college, she'll have to pay for it herself. I don't have money to throw away on my daughter who can't even take care of her own grandmother. I stared at the screen of his phone, bewildered by what I saw. What on earth does he mean? I thought, my mind racing. Dave and I had been married for 18 years, and our only daughter, Anna, was a sophomore in high school. Things had been going well. Anna was studying hard, and we were managing a peaceful life together. But there was one issue that continued to gnaw at me, my mother-in-law, Judy. When I married Dave, my own mother passed away soon after. At the funeral, Judy had made a series of inappropriate comments. "Mom, you're my son's wife now. Don't waste your tears on this," she had said, completely insensitive to my grief. Her comments didn't stop there. The reason she died so young was because of her own bad behavior, Judy had added, making a mockery of my mother. I was stunned into silence, and Dave, furious at his mother's cruelty, had told her to leave. Since then, we had cut off contact with Dave's side of the family. My anger towards Judy had dulled over time, but the thought of never seeing them again lingered. They were, after all, Anna's grandparents. Then we received the news of my father-in-law's death. Despite the strained relations, we attended the funeral. Judy, who I hadn't seen in years, appeared frail and grief-stricken. She seemed genuinely heartbroken, and I wondered if she was truly mourning the loss of her husband. A few days later, after the funeral and the inheritance matters were settled, Dave came home with a proposal. "I think we should move in with Judy," he said. "She's alone now, and my mother is very depressed." I considered Judy alone and grieving. Maybe she was feeling the weight of her loneliness more than I had realized. I understood why Dave was concerned for Judy, and after some consideration, I agreed that moving in with her might be the right thing to do. So we packed up and relocated to my in-laws' house. At first, I was hopeful. "I'm looking forward to living with you, Judy," I said, but Judy's response quickly soured my optimism. "You haven't done much as a wife so far, so you better start making up for it," she said sharply. "And while you're at it, make me some tea. Can't you see I'm feeling down? You need to be more considerate." I was taken aback by her harshness. I had moved in with the intention of easing her loneliness, but her attitude was anything but welcoming. To make matters worse, Dave and I both worked full-time, but he left all the household chores to me. "Hey, is dinner ready yet?" he asked as he came home from work. "You're such a bad wife, ignoring your duties. I'm really disappointed in you." I couldn't understand why Judy was constantly criticizing me, and it seemed to be getting worse. Judy's discontent didn't stop with me. She started targeting Anna too. "Hey, please fold the laundry," Judy would demand. "But I'm studying right now," Anna would respond. Judy's reply was stinging. "What a charmless girl you are, just like your mother. You can't even obey your elders. Girls should be helping around the house instead of just studying." Anna, going through a rebellious phase, snapped back. "Studying is important. Doing house chores all the time isn't useful." Judy's frustration boiled over. "You're such a useless child." The tension between Judy and Anna escalated rapidly, and the situation grew increasingly strained. It was clear that the relationship was deteriorating fast. I found myself regretting our decision to live with Judy, questioning why I had agreed to this in the first place. Meanwhile, Dave was gradually being swayed by Judy's influence. "Welcome home, honey," Judy greeted him as he walked in. "Let me take your bag and jacket. You should sit and relax." "Thanks," Dave replied, settling into a chair. Judy turned to me with a disapproving look. "It's a wife's job to serve her husband," she said. "I'd like to teach Clara how to be a good wife, but it's difficult when she's unmotivated and doesn't take me seriously." I could hardly believe what I was hearing. Dave, under Judy's influence, defended her whenever she lied or complained, ignoring what Anna and I had to say. "Clara and Anna are always harassing me," Judy complained. "Please do something about it." "That's disgusting," I said. "I've never harassed her. She always crumples up my laundry and treats me terribly," Judy continued. "I've never done that," I protested. "She's the one who complains and harasses me constantly." "How dare you talk like that?" Judy snapped. "You're not being a good wife at all. It's all thanks to me that you're able to live comfortably. You know that, right? Dave, believing Judy's lies, began to lash out at me and Anna. As this turmoil became a regular occurrence, Anna was about to start her senior year of high school. The situation reached a new low on the day of a parent-teacher conference at her school. I made it a point to attend every parent-teacher conference and always kept Dave informed about what was discussed. That evening, we were in the living room after dinner, discussing Anna's college plans. Anna's considering several colleges with strong programs in her field. I said. Her teacher mentioned that if she's set on this particular college. Are you even listening to me? I interrupted, noticing that Dave was absorbed in his phone. He didn't look up or show any interest just like he had been last year. I'm talking about something important here, I persisted. Shut up, Dave retorted. If she wants to go to college, she'll have to pay for it herself. I don't have money to waste on a daughter who can't even look after her own grandmother. I was taken aback by his response. What are you talking about? What do you mean, stupid? I don't have any money of my own, and you're being incredibly irresponsible. You have some nerve relying on me for money when it suits you. Dave snapped. You're just like your mother. I wonder how she raised you to be so entitled. My daughter, Anna, who had been listening, confronted Dave. His anger flared up, and Judy chimed in, taking Dave's side. If the mother is inadequate, the daughter will be too, Judy said. A daughter who doesn't know her place and gets too big for her britches doesn't deserve any support. That's right, Dave agreed. Why should I pay for a selfish, ungrateful daughter? Dave's words cut deep. I couldn't believe he was calling Anna selfish. We had been saving diligently for her college education, and it wasn't as if we were broke. I reached my breaking point. I couldn't stand Dave and Judy's disdain, fueled by their dislike for us. If you're going to be this insistent about money, then fine, I said, my frustration boiling over. I'm filing for divorce. The words felt like a release. You won't be able to afford Anna's college fees on your own, you know. Dave scoffed. If you want a divorce, go ahead. I don't want a useless wife who can't even support her own husband's family. And I certainly don't want a daughter who's been raised by such an idiot. He continued, the savings we've accumulated will be used for my family, especially my mother. Don't count upon any of it? Fine, I said, trying to keep my composure. I hope you live in a world where your arrogance is tolerated. Dave's anger flared, and he looked down at me with disdain. I met his gaze with a defiant laugh. Don't worry about the money, I told Anna gently. Just come with me. Anna, bewildered by the sudden turn of events, remained silent. You're going to run to your father and cry, aren't you? I continued. He must be so annoyed that you depend on him at your age. But I guess it's not surprising since he raised you to be his idiot daughter. I added, you get angry when people speak badly about your family, yet you're quick to judge others. You're so contradictory. When Anna heard my words, she seemed to come to a realization. Let's go now, Anna, I said. Okay, Mom, I'm coming with you, she replied. So Anna and I left my in-laws' house and decided to stay at my parents' place for the time being. A few days later, I instructed my lawyer to move forward with the divorce and sent a certified notice to Dave. Not long after, Dave showed up at my parents' house. What are you doing here? I asked, opening the door. I'm so sorry. I apologize sincerely. Dave pleaded. I don't want a divorce. Please come back home. He looked at me with a pitiful expression and tried to cling to me. I was stunned by his audacity. I had already suspected that our joint savings were dwindling. When I requested a background check from the credit card company, I discovered that Dave had been spending money at a club, entertaining hostesses. It seemed he had been preparing for the divorce in secret. Dave was known at the club as a customer that hostesses avoided. In his desperation, Dave had proposed to one of the club hostesses, claiming he wanted to marry her. I'm going to divorce my wife, so marry me, he had said. What are you talking about? The hostess had replied, clearly uninterested. I truly love you and can make you happy, Dave insisted. I'm not interested, she had said, rejecting his proposal. When Dave's advances were repeatedly turned down, he became a nuisance. Eventually, he was banned from the club, and his contact information was blocked. Still undeterred, Dave waited near the club, hoping for another chance. I'm serious, he pleaded. Please just listen to me. I have to go to work now, the hostess said firmly. Please, I need to talk to you, Dave persisted. I'm in a hurry, she responded, leaving him behind. When Dave attempted to speak with the club hostess directly, she rejected him coldly. His persistent behavior did not go unnoticed. His colleagues at work began to shun him. When his boss learned about Dave's nighttime escapades, he was summoned for a serious discussion. I hear you've been stalking a club hostess, the boss said, clearly unimpressed. I'm not too fond of that kind of behavior. Dave, still fixated on his pursuit, responded, I'm serious about our relationship and thinking about marrying her. I really love her. I understand your feelings, the boss replied, but I'm not sure she shares the same intentions. If you speak with her properly, she might understand. Well, to begin with, I thought you had a wife and a daughter, the boss continued, looking perplexed. My wife and I are getting a divorce, Dave said dismissively. Both my wife and daughter are annoying. They're making a fuss about college, while the hostess is far better than my selfish wife and daughter. The boss was taken aback by Dave's shallow reasoning. What on earth are you thinking? As a husband, you should consider your wife's position. I did, Dave insisted. But my mother? You only listen to your mother, the boss cut in. If you're a husband, you should also listen to your wife. Besides, you don't take your daughter's college aspirations seriously but are all in for another woman. How can you think that's acceptable as a father? You better get your act together, the boss warned. Yes, sir, Dave replied, shaken by the confrontation. As a result of his behavior, Dave was demoted and faced a pay cut, a stark consequence of his actions. I sent Dave a certified letter demanding a divorce, custody of Anna, a division of property, and reimbursement for the money he'd spent on the club for alimony. I'm really sorry, I was wrong. Let's start over, Dave pleaded when he received the letter. Even if we don't divorce, you still owe me for the money you spent behind my back, I replied firmly. What? Dave was taken aback by the mention of the money. I could see his surprise was more about the financial burden than any genuine desire to reconcile. His reluctance to pay and his insincere offer to make amends showed that he had no real intention of making things right. With a sigh of frustration, I said, I manage all the house chores, look after Anna, and take care of your own mother. I can't possibly go back to someone like you, who decides our future based on whims and then plays around with younger women. Dave stammered. I made it clear that there was no chance of reconciliation. Just then, Anna came around from the back of the house. I'm really sorry, Dave said, turning to her. I'll be a good father. Let's start over. Anna looked at him with cold disdain. Do you have any idea what I've been going through these past few months? If you think a simple apology can fix everything, you're mistaken. Just because I'm in high school doesn't mean you can belittle me. A father who jeopardizes his daughter's future while spending money on other young women is both creepy and gross. Dave was visibly shocked by Anna's harsh rejection. He slumped his shoulders and left, completely defeated. Soon after, Dave fell into a deep depression, unable to cope with the gravity of his situation. I've grown weary of middle-aged men who blur the lines between reality and fantasy. Dave's persistent attempts to reconcile were futile. Even the hostess he pursued rejected him. Eventually, Dave accepted the terms and paid the fees I claimed. The money he spent on the club and the alimony was covered by my ex-father-in-law's inheritance. But it wasn't enough. The remaining balance was paid in installments. The monthly alimony and child support payments became a struggle for Dave, especially after his pay cut at work. After the divorce, Judy came to visit me at my parents' house. You've made my life so difficult, she said, her voice sharp. I've forgiven you, so you should forgive my son and come back home. Judy's accusations and screaming at the front door left me exasperated. I was fed up with my selfish mother-in-law who always looked down on me. I called Dave, who rushed over to pick up Judy. Mom, what are you doing? He asked, bewildered. I'm telling your stubborn wife to get her act together, Judy replied, still fuming. I'm not his wife anymore, I said calmly. I have a record of everything you've said to me while we lived together, and I can file for additional alimony if you keep this up. Are you even listening to me? Judy retorted, her anger rising. How did you speak to me like that? She snapped. That's enough, Dave finally interjected, his patience wearing thin. You're putting me in a difficult position, Mother. In a fit of anger, Dave decided to put Judy in an institution. With the alimony, child support payments, and facility costs, Dave's financial situation became increasingly strained. Another challenging month passed. Dave now had to manage all the house chores alone and face a lonely existence. Meanwhile, Anna and I were finding peace at my parents' house. She focused on preparing for her college entrance exams despite the chaos. "Here's your dinner," I said, handing her a plate. "Why don't you take a break?" "Thanks, Mom," Anna replied, her eyes brightening. "I was just starting to get hungry. I'll eat now." "You're working hard," I said, "but don't push yourself too much." Anna smiled. "I'm determined to be independent and succeed on my own. I'm not going to rely on anyone else." I chuckled at her resolve. If my daughter is committed to her path, I'll do everything I can to support her. Her happiness means more to me than anything else.
What? What is this? The doctor's voice trembled, and he stood frozen, despite being in the middle of a consultation. I lay on the bed, suddenly tense, realizing the seriousness of his tone. I imagined my husband, who'd appeared pale and shaken recently, and closed my eyes slowly. "My name is Claire. Looking back, I feel as though I've spent my whole life seeking love. Abandoned by my parents as a child and raised in foster care, I grew up not knowing what real love felt like. I remember feeling pure envy watching other kids receive the warmth and affection from their families. I've always longed to be cherished, to feel someone's kindness and care. The first time I truly felt loved was at a party hosted by my friend Sarah. That's where I met Jack. "Hello, Claire. I'm Jack." His soft smile caught my attention, and he approached me with an easy grace. "Oh, hi. I'm Claire." Not sure what to say, I responded awkwardly. Normally, I would be too nervous to speak, but there was something calming about Jack that put me at ease. "Is this your first time here? Sarah told me a bit about you. She says you worked really hard." She said that? I don't think I'm anything special. I rarely talked about my past in foster care. It was a subject that made others uncomfortable, even pitying. Knowing this, I wondered just how much Sarah had told him. But Jack didn't bring it up. He just looked at me with a gentle smile. "No, you're not ordinary. You've probably overcome a lot, right? I really respect that strength." Jack's words seeped into my heart, like I was finally hearing something I'd longed to hear. His kindness made me feel, maybe for the first time, truly cared for. Jack worked for a major company, was polished, intelligent, and considerate. We'd grown up in entirely different worlds, and I doubted I'd fit into his. But he never minded my background, and I found myself gradually drawn to him. Eventually, we started dating. In the beginning, Jack was exactly the ideal gentleman I had always imagined. He always seemed to know my preferences, like what I liked to order. He'd even share interesting facts about dishes or their history. "Claire, this dish is actually good for you. They used to use these ingredients in old medicine." In every detail, his thoughtfulness shone, and I felt uniquely cherished. He was incredibly knowledgeable, but he never forced it, just shared it naturally. And it felt like he appreciated me too. "When I'm with you, Claire, I feel completely at peace. Will you marry me?" When Jack proposed, I was overwhelmed with joy. I never imagined someone would care about me so much. "Are you sure? I mean, you really want me?" He looked at me, his calm smile unchanged. "Of course, Claire. I need you." And so, we got married. Jack quickly moved up in his company, respected by everyone around him. My friends congratulated us, and I truly believed a happy future awaited us together. But slowly, things began to change. "Jack, are you working late again tonight?" He'd been coming home late more and more, and we barely talked anymore. "Can you just not get on my case? Work is demanding. Just let me do my job." His irritated tone felt like a slap. He had always been calm with me, but now a coldness had taken over. I tried to understand. "I know. I'm sorry. I just stop. I'm paying for everything here, so don't complain." His words stung, and my heart felt like it was tightening. I never thought he'd say something so hurtful. Where had the kind, gentle Jack I'd fallen in love with gone? And from then on, he only became more distant. "Can you at least handle the housework, right? I'm the one earning here. You don't have much else to do you?" His dismissive words cut deeper each time, and I felt myself shutting down emotionally. Jack, how do you feel about me? Do you still love me? I barely managed to ask, fearing the answer.
What kind of question is that? My work matters, not how you feel. Just drop it.
His dismissive response shattered me. I had once been surrounded by his kindness, but now I felt empty. The happiness I thought I'd found was slipping through my fingers. Once I'd dreamed of having a family with him, of raising children in a warm, loving home. But as things got worse, that dream started to disappear. Jack, don't you think we could try for a family? He only looked at me coldly.
Kids? They're just a hassle. Our life is fine as it is.
With that, any hope for our future faded. Sarah, I don't know what to do anymore. One day, I confessed everything to my friend Sarah. She listened quietly, a sorrowful expression on her face. Oh, Claire, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have introduced you to. No, it's not your fault. I chose to marry him. Just promise me, okay? Put your own happiness first. You deserve to be happy. Her words made tears spill down my face. I could never have imagined how this marriage would turn out. In public, Jack was still the perfect husband. Around his coworkers and friends, he was always calm, always gentle. They'd say things like, Jack is the ideal husband, and it made me feel conflicted every time.
There's a work party tonight, and my coworkers want you to come.
Oh, do you think it'll be okay if I go?
Of course. Everyone will be thrilled to see you. You're the perfect wife after all.
His words felt empty. He'd never really praised me before. But I had no choice but to play along. Even Jack's parents didn't know the truth. They lived overseas and rarely visited, so they had no idea what was happening in our marriage.
My parents want a video call this weekend. You don't have to say anything special.
Shouldn't we visit them sometime? Even our wedding was just a video call.
Are you kidding? They don't have time for that. Just let it go.
With that, I knew it was pointless to push further. His parents were indifferent, and Jack wore his public mask perfectly.
I'll be late again. Another work party.
You've been going out a lot lately. Are you doing okay? Maybe you should take a break.
Just stop. You don't understand what my job's like.
His irritation was clearer, sharper now. At first, I told myself it was just work stress. But then one day, he went too far.
You, an orphan, think you could ever understand my stress?
I was speechless. I never expected him to throw my past in my face like that. Growing up in a foster home was my own painful memory, one I barely spoke about. Jack, why would you say something like that?
Enough. Don't argue with me.
He became more cruel, even physically aggressive. It started small, just a shove here and there, but it got worse. Jack, please don't.
Shut up and do what I say.
Eventually, we stopped sharing a room. Our lives became completely separate, and I grew lonelier by the day. One evening, he saw me about to leave for the grocery store.
Where do you think you're going? You have no reason to be out.
I just need to pick up some things.
Don't go anywhere without telling me. You never know what you might get into.
He even began to control when I could leave the house. I hid my bruises under long sleeves, even in the summer, so that friends like Sarah wouldn't find out. Is it hot? Why are you wearing long sleeves? Oh, just to avoid getting sunburned. I lied, afraid of what Jack might do if I said anything. Jack, I think I need to see a doctor.
For what? Just stay home. You don't need a doctor for anything.
But I'm not feeling well. Maybe I should just get checked.
I told you, don't do anything unless I say so.
He wouldn't even let me go to the doctor. As my health deteriorated, I lay in bed, isolated and afraid. Each day passed with no escape in sight, no way out of this life. I felt trapped, like I could never survive on my own. And on one particularly stormy day, he became angrier than ever.
You don't understand anything, do you? Can't you do anything right?
I'm sorry, Jack. I really am.
Get out of the car, now.
He abruptly stopped the car and ordered me out. Wait, here? But it's raining.
I don't care. Just get out.
Before I could respond, he'd sped away, leaving me alone in the rain. I was soaked, abandoned in the middle of nowhere. Why, Jack? Why? I walked aimlessly, my shoes heavy with mud, feeling lost and broken. And suddenly, my world turned white as a pair of headlights bore down on me. I couldn't react in time. Everything went dark. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed, pain throbbing throughout my body.
We need to prepare for emergency surgery.
The doctor's words echoed in my mind as I drifted in and out of consciousness. Surgery? Why? What happened to me?
Your injuries are severe. We need to act quickly.
I barely nodded, my voice too weak to respond. The doctor began to examine me, but then froze mid-motion.
What is this? These bruises, these scars. What happened to you?
I felt frozen, exposed under the doctor's cornered gaze. Every mark Jack had left on me was visible now. There was no way to hide the truth any longer. I could feel a wave of shame and helplessness wash over me.
Who did this to you?
His voice trembled, and I realized that everyone in the room could see what I had been hiding for so long. I couldn't escape. The words slipped out before I could stop them. For the first time, I was telling someone about the truth I had hidden for so long.
We have to report this to the police.
Please, no, don't call them. I shook my head frantically, the fear of Jack finding out paralyzing me. I knew what he was capable of, and the thought of his anger terrified me.
But in your condition.
He struggled to find the right words, but ultimately respected my wish.
For now, let's focus on getting you through the surgery. You're safe here.
I felt a small flicker of relief, but deep down, I knew this wasn't over. As they prepared me for surgery, memories of Jack pushing me out of the car replayed in my mind. Would I ever be able to escape him? Could I build a life without fear? I couldn't answer those questions yet. But in the fleeting moments before surgery, I felt something new, a glimmer of hope. And when I woke up after the operation, I was alone. Hours later, I heard footsteps outside my room. The door opened, and there he was, Jack. His face was pale, and I couldn't tell if he was worried or just angry that I'd been taken to the hospital.
What's this? What did you tell the doctors?
I didn't say anything.
Don't lie to me. You're making me out to be the villain here, aren't you?
His voice boomed through the room, startling the nurses outside. He grabbed my shoulder roughly, his face twisting with rage.
You did this on purpose, didn't you? You set this up to make me look bad.
No, I would never.
You have no idea how stressed I am, how hard I work. I'm the real victim here.
Jack was too furious to see reason, only focused on making himself the victim. He was incapable of empathy, of acknowledging the pain he had caused. Then the doctor walked in.
What are you doing? She's just come out of surgery. She needs rest. She's lying. She's setting me up. Sir, her injuries tell a different story. They've been accumulating for a long time. There's no proof I did any of it.
Jack, please just stop. My quiet plea made him pause, but only for a moment.
I'm warning you. If you don't leave, we'll have to report this to the authorities.
Jack's face turned red with anger, but he seemed to realize he had no other choice. He looked around, as if waiting for someone to back him up, but there was no one.
You think you can just throw me out? You don't know who you're dealing with.
The nurses watched him silently, their expressions full of judgment and disbelief.
We care about the safety of our patients, and we won't let anyone jeopardize that.
Jack stood frozen for a moment. Then he turned and stormed out. I watched him leave, and for the first time, he looked small, vulnerable. Just go, Jack, please. His eyes widened, stunned by my words. In all our years together, I had never spoken to him this way. For once, I didn't care about his reaction or how he'd feel. Something inside me shifted, like I was reclaiming my own strength. Jack didn't say another word. He left the room, and I took a deep, shaky breath. Tears filled my eyes, but this time, they weren't just from fear. They were from relief.
You did well. It's time to start your recovery, step by step.
Thank you. Really, thank you. His words brought a sense of peace, a tiny light in the darkness. But I knew this journey wasn't over. Jack was still out there, and I needed to find a way to protect myself. A few days later, the hospital staff filed a report, and Jack was arrested. When I heard the news, I felt like a weight was finally lifting off my shoulders. The fear that had shackled me for so long began to dissolve. Jack tried to protest his innocence, but no one was listening anymore. "She's lying. She set this whole thing up. She's framing me." His desperate pleas fell on deaf ears. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and the court saw through his lies. And for the first time, Jack was held accountable for his actions. In court, I stood with the hospital staff and my friend Sarah as a witness. The judge saw through his excuses, dismissing them as just more manipulation.
"You're responsible for your actions, Jack. It's time to face the consequences."
I saw Jack's face pale as he realized he couldn't escape the truth. The court granted my divorce, and I was finally free. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders as the judge declared our divorce finalized. Jack was now facing public shame and the consequences of his own actions. News of the court case spread quickly, and Jack's image was shattered. His co-workers, friends, and even his family started to see him for who he really was. Jack had lived a double life, but now everyone knew the truth. He was quickly fired from his job, and any credibility he had was gone.
"Please, you're all I have left. I promise I'll change."
"Jack, it's over. I don't owe you anything anymore." His pleas became weaker as he realized I was truly done. Jack's career and reputation crumbled, and he struggled to find anyone willing to hire him. Former friends and coworkers avoided him, and he was completely isolated. He was finally feeling the loneliness he'd forced on me for years. The same words he once used to belittle me echoed in my mind. "Your suffering means nothing to me." Now, the tables had turned, and Jack had to face life alone. In the months that followed, I slowly started to rebuild my life. I began to find a new purpose and a new path forward. The kindness of the doctors and nurses inspired me, and I realized I wanted to help others. I decided to pursue a career in nursing. I wanted to be a source of strength for people who felt helpless as I once did.
"Congratulations on your recovery, Claire. If you ever need support, we're here for you."
"Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for helping me find hope again."
"The strength to move forward was always with you. We just gave a little guidance."
His words resonated deeply, and I felt my resolve grow. I enrolled in nursing school, ready to start fresh. Being around young, hopeful students was a new experience, but they accepted me without judgment. For the first time, I felt like I was living the life I was meant to have. I studied hard, motivated by the idea of one day helping people the way others had helped me. It wasn't easy, but each lesson felt like a new chance to learn, to grow. And little by little, my past became something I could live with instead of something that weighed me down. As I spent time with my classmates, I felt a sense of joy I hadn't experienced in years. We studied together, shared laughs, and supported each other. Those small moments reminded me of the life I'd always dreamed of. My friend Sarah cheered me on, encouraging me every step of the way. "I always knew you'd find something that makes you happy. You're going to be amazing at this." "Thank you, Sarah. I couldn't have done any of this without you." With each passing day, my confidence grew, and I knew I was on the right path. Nursing school gave me a sense of purpose and taught me to trust myself again. My journey had been painful, but I was finally reclaiming my life. And while the scars of my past would never fully disappear, I had found a way to move forward. I was no longer a prisoner of my own fear. I was free. As the years passed, my career as a nurse flourished, and I became deeply connected to my work. Every patient I met reminded me why I had chosen this path, and their gratitude reinforced my purpose. My past was a reminder of the resilience I'd found within myself. Though some days were hard, knowing I could help people gave my life a new meaning. The kindness I received in my darkest days became the kindness I gave to others. My experience allowed me to understand and comfort people in ways I hadn't imagined. I learned that surviving hardship makes us more compassionate, more willing to give others hope. And I finally believed that love, real love, was not something that harmed or controlled. Love was about support, empathy, and genuine care. One day, I was leaving work. Sarah came to visit, bringing a bouquet of flowers. "Look at you, living your dream. You're truly an inspiration, Claire. Thanks to friends like you, who stood by me when I couldn't stand by myself." We hugged, and I realized how far I'd come, from isolation and fear to a life filled with purpose and friendship. I no longer felt like I was defined by my past or by Jack's actions. Instead, I had become someone strong, capable, and compassionate. My life had transformed into something I never thought possible, and it was all because I chose to take that first step. I no longer felt fear when I thought of Jack or the years I'd lost. Now, those years served as a powerful reminder of the strength I had gained and the freedom I had won. My journey had taught me that no matter how dark the night, dawn always comes if we hold on. And as I walked out of the hospital that evening, watching the sunset, I felt peace. My life was finally my own.